Hi, I'm Joy, and in this video we're going to talk about language you can use when you have to intervene when a difficult meeting behavior presents itself. We're going to talk about two common types of difficult meeting behavior, and then I'll give you some options for language you can use and tools you can use when you have to intervene. Okay, the first meeting behavior we're going to look at is when somebody's dominating the conversation. They get on a roll and won't get back off. They won't share airtime. They keep coming back to their specific issue or concern and won't let the team move forward. I'm going to give you 5 tools you can use in situations like this to help address the person who's dominating so that you can move on in the conversation. The first tool I'm calling validate in table. This means to put the item on the table for discussion at another time. Sometimes when people are taking up a lot of time with their issue, we have to validate what they're saying and then put it on the table for conversation at another time. So, for example, a way to validate is to say, I can see that that's really important to you, or I hear you saying that this is something you think that we need to discuss. So what you can say, in addition to validating, is, can we talk about this later? Can we maybe put this at the end of the agenda and come back to it? Or can we talk about this the next time we meet? So validate what they're saying, discuss a time for when you will talk about it again, and then come back to it. Now, sometimes the issue that somebody is bringing up is just not in the purview of what the meeting is about or what the team is there to do. So one of the other tools that we can use is not. This is a framing tool to help define what the meeting is about and what it is not about. So start with validation again. I hear, and then you can paraphrase the issue. I hear you saying whatever it is. Our responsibility in this meeting or our commitment as a team is to do these things. This set of things is outside of what we're able to do today, or outside of our meeting purpose, or outside of the project scope. So being able to say this is what it is and this is what it isn't can really help people to be able to focus on the things that they're supposed to be focusing on. The third tool is yes and. This is in contrast to using the words no and but. So this is a way to not dismiss what people are saying and to move on. So frequently what happens is that somebody brings something up, you have to figure out what to do about it. Maybe it's not something you can address, or maybe it's not something you can do anything with, but you don't want to dismiss it, you don't want to cause a problem, so you say yes and. We're trying to make space for multiple things to be true at the same time. It doesn't have to be one thing or another, it can be both. So a classic example is in a work group, somebody's been assigned to do some important task. They work on it for a period of time and then they bring it back to a supervisor, and the supervisor says, I can see that you've done a lot of work on this project, but what happens when you say but is that it feels like it's negating everything that comes before the word but. Yes, I see that you've worked really hard on this project, but it can really feel like a brick wall when somebody says but. And can be used sort of like a bridge. So in this same example, what would happen if that supervisor said, I can see you've worked really hard on this, and would you please, add this thing, or can you please edit it, or next time? The word and allows you to get to the next thing without negating everything that came before it. So remember, but is a brick wall, and is a bridge. But stops you right where you are, and allows you to go forward without negating what came before. The fourth tool is incorporate it. So maybe somebody is on a roll and won't get off because the thing that they need to talk about is actually really important. And so one of the things that you should consider is figuring out how to fold that concern, fold that issue into the meeting. So there was a day-long meeting, and some of the participants I was experiencing throughout the day as being difficult. And at a break, all of those people convened in one group, in a cluster somewhere in the room, and I saw that happen and I thought, oh no, this can't be good. So I sort of found my courage somewhere and walked over to them to see what was going on, and what came up was they had a topic that we weren't discussing at all. It was a topic that was really important to them. It was not part of the meeting agenda. it was something that we needed to incorporate. We needed to talk about it. So part of why they were being so difficult was because we missed something really important. So we were able to incorporate it into the rest of our agenda and then address their concerns and move on. Now, the fifth tool is something called a process commercial. Sometimes I found myself in meetings, in large meetings and small meetings, where we sort of get to a place where somebody is just like really being adamant about something, and maybe it triggers something in somebody else, and then they're adamant about something too. And then we get to the point where we don't know how to move forward because everybody is like trying to fight for airtime. There are a couple of people or multiple groups that are trying to dominate the conversation. There's an example from another public meeting in another community. It was a trails project. They were looking at the possibility of bicycle trails near a residential area. And for anybody who knows about recreation planning, neighbors frequently object to trails near their homes. They don't mind trails, they just don't want them near them. So we were in this large public meeting and we were gathering public input, and there were a bunch of different people there. There were the neighbors, there were mountain bikers, there was the land manager, there was a kids mountain biking group, lots of different people. There were people in one part of the room, neighbors, who were saying anybody who gets up to speak should give their home address so that we know that they actually live in this neighborhood, and the implication was that their opinion would matter more. And then there were folks in another part of the room who heard that, not request but demand, and said, no way, we're not doing that. And so like in this gymnasium, we have like people on one side talking about one thing, like making these demands, and people on the other side saying no way. And so what I did was just to say, okay, here's what's happening. We have people who want to have people talk about or have people mention their home address because they want to make sure that they're from the neighborhood. And then we have people who are not willing to give their home address because they're worried about retribution from, people who may disagree with them. So in just painting that picture, there's this thing going on and there's this thing going on. It sort of describes the tension that's happening at the moment, right? It's a commercial. This is happening and this is happening. And then just in that moment of describing the issue, the solution became, if you want to give your address, please feel free to, and you don't have to. Like, it was that simple. So let's take a look at a second kind of common meeting behavior, which is non-participation. Now, sometimes in a meeting, a question is brought up, or there's some conversation that's supposed to be happening, or something for the group to consider, and nobody's saying anything. And so there are a lot of different reasons that might be happening. So let's talk about some tools that you can use when that happens. The first thing you can do is check for understanding and agreement. So what might be happening? You present something for discussion, or something is presented for discussion, nobody says anything. Maybe they just don't understand what they're supposed to be doing. If you've asked for discussion, maybe they don't understand the topic, maybe they don't understand what the relevance is, maybe they don't understand what you're asking of them. So check for understanding and agreement. You may get some clues about what's going on. A second tool you can use to intervene when people are not participating is to invite them in. So depending on people's social identities, depending on their level of comfort, depending on how long they've been in the group, or how well they know the group, or how well they know the meeting context, or just because of personality, sometimes people are hesitant to speak up. What we can do as facilitators and as fellow meeting participants is say, address them directly. Is there something that you have to say? You can say, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want to make sure that you can participate. Dana, do you have anything that you'd like to say? Sam, do you have any thoughts on this issue? When you invite somebody in, or at least what I have found is that when I give explicit space for somebody to participate, they often do have something to say. Inviting them in opens up that opportunity for them to talk. Sometimes I have found that people are not participating because they actually have too much to say, and they feel like they're going to rock the boat or cause conflict, or it's going to be uncomfortable if they bring something up. And sometimes that's happening, but you don't really know it's happening. I mean, you have a sense that might be going on. So sometimes what you can do in a situation like that is to send up a trial balloon. And what I mean by that is to sort of take the temperature of the room. You know, if you've got an idea something's going on, but you're not really sure, you can say something like, I get the sense that people are hesitant to say something, or I get the sense that, there might be feelings about this issue, or that I'm sensing that there are some hurt feelings, or I'm sensing that there's something going on that people are just not wanting to discuss. Tell me what's going on. Sometimes we have to do something like this because people won't say anything in the meeting, but then they go to their cars after the meeting, or they gather during a break, like the example I gave before, and they definitely have something to say. They just are not saying it in front of the group. So another way that you can help extract whatever that is that's going on is to normalize it. Normalizing is the last tool that I will suggest related to non-participation. Sometimes people feel like they're the only ones who feel a certain way, or they feel guilty about the way they feel, or they're not sure that they should be feeling the way that they feel. And so you can put it out there first to say something like, if this was me, if I was in this situation, I might be feeling kind of frustrated, or I might be feeling pretty uncertain, or I might be feeling pretty angry. Is there anything like that that might be going on for any of you? Sometimes just having the right words to say can give you the confidence that you need to intervene in difficult situations. I hope there have been some tidbits in here that you can take and use when you are experiencing these difficult behaviors.